Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to look at another collaboration beer. This one is half Norwegian on the home side and half American on the away side, and both of these breweries have featured on the channel before. I've done a number of dedicated reviews to the Norwegian brewery, but the American brewery has mainly been with collaboration beer reviews, but that will change come around September time when I head out to the States once again, and I'm very excited for that. So for this review then, we are going to head up to Oslo, the capital city of Norway, and we're looking at another beer from Amundsen Bryggeri, who are one of the better known Norwegian craft breweries these days. Very well known for their hazy IPAs and sort of dessert pastry type imperial stouts. This particular beer is a collaboration with Other Half Brewing, who come from Brooklyn over in New York. Again, really well known for their big hazy New England style IPAs. The beer itself is called Brown Cheese and Waffles, and it's a double IPA coming in at 8.5% ABV. This one was released in the Tillfällig sortiment, små partiers, whatever you want to call it, through Systembolaget here in Sweden on the 28th of February 2020, but I believe it has been out for a little bit of time before that. Amundsen have just gone through one of their cycles where they've been collaborating with a number of American breweries. The other one that I saw was the Finback, so you saw me review the Fade to Green a couple of videos ago. But two very well respected breweries involved in this one, and it'll be very interesting to see what these guys can pull together when they collaborate. So I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer, and I hope that it turns out to be a very good one. A double IPA coming in at 8.5% ABV. So as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Amundsen Bryggeri, and my other reviews that hopefully I can do from Other Half Brewing in the future. As I say, September time, you might see some reviews around October, I would guess. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Norwegian beers and another one for all the American beers. This beer will appear in both of those because it's a dual nationality beer. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So on to the brewery notes then. So Amundsen Bryggeri, as I've mentioned to you before, are based in Oslo, the capital city in Norway, and this brewery is part of the Akerhus Group, which owns a number of bars and restaurants around Oslo. The main men in this company are Ole Johan Tollefsen, Bore Jensen and Tom Erik Andresen. But the first brewery was part of a gastropub in Stortingsgatan, which is right next to the old town hall in Norway, and I have been there and it's really nice, but unfortunately at that time I wasn't filming my out and about videos, otherwise I would have made one there. But this was just a very kind of small operation, and the key man in getting this established was Tom Alfred Oimo, and he'd been a home brewer for a good number of years. And from what I understand, he still works in there, but I never got to meet him when I was up there, unfortunately. But the brewery expanded, and by 2015 they were producing around 200,000 litres of beer per year, and they become quite established within Norway, having opened up a larger brewery at Nydalen in Oslo. In 2016, though, the parent company purchased a property company called Hauketo Eiendom, and with this they acquired the Bjorner Divine Fjorton property. I always pronounce that wrong when I do my Amundsen videos, but you can find this in Hauketo to the south of Oslo, and this was turned into a 3,500 square metre brewery, and the brewing began there in late 2016, with the new brewery capacity coming in at around 1 million litres of beer per year. But the brewery equipment came from Braukon in Germany, and the canning and bottling lines were bought in from Italy. The total investment in this site was apparently 16 million Norwegian kroner, which is pretty impressive. That must be around, I think that must be around, what would it be, about 15 million euros, maybe about 16 or 17 million euros or something like that. That's pretty crazy actually, a hell of a lot of investment going in there. But the managing director of this brewery is Jeffrey Jansen van Vuren, and Matthew Thomas and John Hudson are the ones involved in the daily running of the brewery. The artwork that you'll find on the cans from Amundsen is very, very distinctive, and it's done by the American Peter John de Villiers. And as of March 2020, when I'm reviewing this beer for you, they've produced around 70 different types of beer according to Untappd. I would have thought it was more than that, because Amundsen have always been very, very prolific, but when I think about it, they do have a number of beers that are re-released regularly, such as the Dessert in a Can series, the Apocalyptic Thunder Juice, and there's a few other IPAs that do seem to come around quite often, actually. So yeah, as I say, this is a brewery that are very well known for their hazy IPAs and their dessert stouts, and they're definitely worth checking out if those are the sort of beers that you enjoy. Another thing that I'm not sure about, but I do wonder if this brewery is named after Roald Amundsen, who was a very famous Norwegian explorer. I forget which pole it was that he traversed, but he was the first explorer to traverse either the North Pole or the South Pole, but a very famous figure in Norwegian history from what I gather. So yeah, Norwegian pioneer, but a very nice brewery, this one. One of the better known Norwegian craft breweries these days, I guess you could say, and one that you definitely need to check out if you get the chance. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about Amundsen Bryggeri for the moment. If you want to learn more, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Beer Advocate and Untappd pages if you want to learn more about the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's move on to the second half of the notes then, Other Half Brewing over in America. So Other Half Brewing, as I mentioned to you earlier, these guys are based in Brooklyn in New York, and they were founded back in 2014 by Samuel Richardson, Matt Monaghan and Andrew Berman. So Matt had worked as a line cook and in kitchens for a number of years, and he really just got into home brewing and decided to go for it and make it into a career. Samuel, on the other hand, had studied food science in Oregon with a special focus in fermentation science, and he worked in various other breweries before starting Other Half. Andrew also has a background in the restaurant industry and was a partner, an owning partner, in a number of different restaurants before coming online with Other Half. But Matt manages the business side of the brewery, while Samuel is the brewery operations manager, and I think Andrew, from the interview I was listening to with him, he kind of helps with whatever the other two need, from what I understand. So he kind of does a little bit of everything. But the brewery have grown very quickly over the last few years. They have their tap room on Centre Street in Brooklyn, and in 2018 they purchased the former brewery of Nedlow Brewing in East Broomfield in the Rochester area, and this has allowed them to expand their brewing further, and also to get their beers out there a little bit more, and also to start a sour beer program as well. So they've been doing a good bit of barrel aging with sour beers and stuff like that. They already had a barrel aged stout program from what I understand, and as of March 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, Other Half have produced around 750 different types of beers, which is pretty impressive for a brewery that have only really been around for about 6 years, I think. Yeah, 5 or 6 years for Other Half Brewing. But like I said, these guys are one of the really kind of famed New York area breweries, along with the likes of Finback, and there's a few others up there as well who are really well known, and I will go out and visit those when I'm in the States in September. I'm very much looking forward to filming some out and about videos, and of course getting some cans and things to bring back with me from the States to review for you here on the channel too. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about Other Half Brewing for the moment. A brewery who are very well known over here in Europe these days, but we're still not getting any of their beer. Hopefully that changes quite soon. But my friend Harry over at Blue Nose Beer Reviews, he kind of imports them himself into the UK, so he's reviewed a good couple of these before actually. So if you're interested in Other Half reviews, check out my friend Harry over at Blue Nose Beer Reviews. But yeah, if you want to learn more about this brewery, check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about the different types of beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get this guy out then and we'll get on with the tasting. I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork here before we open this one up, but you can see it's I'm not sure why they've named it this, brown cheese and waffles. I don't remember ever having brown cheese with waffles. I always thought it was kind of like maple syrup and stuff that you put on Belgian waffles, but it looks very, very nice. You can see there is the Other Half Brewing symbol, there is the Amundsen symbol, which is, you know, I don't know, is that a griffin or what kind of bird is it? Looks pretty cool. But I know that this beer is hopped with Citra, Other than that, I don't really know exactly what to expect of this one. 8.5% ABV, a double IPA, so without further ado, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the taste, and then I'm really curious to see what this beer has in store for us. But yeah, as you can see when you pour this one, it's another hazy New England double IPA, so that looks really pretty damn good, and kind of what you would expect from this style, to be honest with you. So yeah, in terms of comparing this one to others, this one really is very, very hazy. At 8.5%, this is one of the things I would say about the Amundsen beers, because they, you know, they really, or when it comes to New England IPAs in general, I would say that 8.5% ABV for me is normally the cutoff with which you can kind of get away with a New England style. If you go above 8.5%, I think you've got to add in a little bit of caramel and things like that, and usually you've got to take up the hoppy bitterness to kind of to balance that out right enough. And I've discovered that with the brewski beers here in Skåne in the south of Sweden, you know, to go above 8.5% I think with New England IPAs is very difficult. But from what Harry tells me, other half are kind of the experts at doing that. They have some really very nice triple New England IPAs from what I understand. So yeah, that's a really kind of interesting point to make about these styles of beer. And the thing that you'll notice with these two is they get gradually more and more hazy as the alcohol content goes up, because obviously you've got more wheat and oats and things like that in there to bring the alcohol up. But as you can see, if I put my fingers behind this glass, this one is, you know, very, very opaque. You're not going to get much more kind of hazy than that. It looks very, very good, and I'd say in terms of its colour, this one leans towards the yellow end of the spectrum. It really just looks very much like a kind of peach juice or pineapple juice, more of a peach mango-y type juice actually than a pineapple juice. Pineapple juice is a bit more yellow than this from what I understand. You could see there was about a quarter finger of a frothy white head on this one. That's faded away just to be a very thin foamy layer. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall, nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. So let's have a look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Oh yeah, that smells really nice. So straight away, I mean, you know, when you call it brown cheese and waffles IPA, you know, you would think that's more, you know, that's more of a kind of dessert stout name, waffle. I don't know why they've done that. It's an interesting point. It didn't say on any of the websites why they'd named the beer this, so it would always be interesting to know why you pick such a random name, unless it is just for the sheer hell of it, you know. But yeah, the aroma out of this beer is very, very nice. For me, this one leans a little bit towards the, it's got a bit of wheaty bite in there. On the malt base you can really pick out a bit of the wheat. There is a little bit of the sort of wheaty astringency in there, but the oaty kind of creaminess really balances it out very, very nicely. And you've got a wee bit of a biscuity, I don't know if you could, I don't think it's quite caramelly, but you do have a little bit of a McVitie's digestive biscuity quality coming out of this one, which is quite nice. So yeah, that's really nice. Two sirens gone past tonight. There must have been an accident or something like that. There's an ambulance depot just up the road there. So that's obviously not good. And the fire station's actually just down the road there as well. So yeah, must be something going on tonight. But yeah, beautiful smelling beer this one, I have to say. Malt base really comes out very nicely. If you've watched the channel before, you know that I really appreciate a very well balanced malt base. And this one to me, I think is going to be very, very good. On the hoppy side of things, with the green side of the hops, there's a little bit of earthiness there. You can pick up some nice big floral notes, but to me it's kind of well balanced between that grassy side of things and also the floral part of the spectrum as well, which is quite nice. It really has quite a nice freshness to it, I have to say. Fruity side of things, some nice juicy mangoes in there. Maybe a little bit of these kind of softer apricot-y papaya type qualities as well. And I think there's a wee bit of like a lychee sort of gooseberry thing going on with this one. And those are some of the complexities, of course, that you can get from Citra. There is a little bit of a light lychee gooseberry-ish type note out of this one. Sometimes with Citra you can get lemon and lime out of it, but for me this one's, it's more soft and it's gooseberry and lychee-like, but lovely kind of juicy mangoes in there, and some sort of papaya, apricot-y type notes to the beer as well. So yeah, a very smooth, kind of sweet-leaning New England IPA for this one in my mind. If I compare it to the Big Four up in New England, I think this one, it's got a little bit of a Trillium wheaty bitiness. It reminds me a little bit of Trillium, but I think it leans a little bit more towards the sort of treehouse type thing. But you know, maybe we shouldn't do that when there's other half and Amundsen involved, because both of these breweries have a good pedigree when it comes to the New England IPAs. But take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. This one strikes me as very nice, but we're going to try this now. So this one is, to get the name right, the Brown Cheese and Waffles. A double IPA coming in at 8.5% ABV from Amundsen Bryggeri in Oslo in Norway, and Other Half Brewing from Brooklyn over in New York. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål. Yeah. First thing I'll say about this beer, it strikes me as being sort of nice and smooth. I think this one, it reminds me of some of the older Amundsen beers that I've had actually, because I've noticed with some of the Amundsen ones, in recent times, for example the Fade to Green that I had, that was the Finback collaboration, that one and the one I had before it, they felt really nice and kind of lighter and crisp, whereas the older Amundsen ones that I had were very wheaty and bitey and things like the Space Tiger and stuff. I remember that being a very bitey, wheaty beer, but it was really nice. And this one does remind me a little bit more of those more old school bitey beers like the Apocalyptic Thunder Juice and the Space Tiger. Actually, that's an interesting point to make about this one. So this one to me strikes me as a bit more old school Amundsen. Other Half, you know, I can't really comment and compare this to too many of their other beers, because I've had like 3 or 4 collaborations involving them. This will be the 4th, maybe 5th collaboration involving Other Half, so I can't really make the same comparison with them. But an old school Amundsen beer, this one for me. But yeah, that goes together really quite nicely. So let's try and break down the flavour of this one then. Straight away across the middle of your palate, you're going to feel that nice white bready wheaty quality. That blankets the middle of your tongue. If you go further towards the back of the palate, I think the wheaty bitiness pushes its way out a little bit more. But as you come further forward, it does get a little bit more kind of pale malty and lighter, which is interesting. Oddly enough too, this beer, the oats I think are quite subtle in this. If you go further forward on the palate as well, past the centre of your tongue, that's when you start to get the kind of oaty creaminess out of this one, but the oats don't feel quite as thick in this beer. When I was saying that it was more old school Amundsen beer, I'm really thinking about the kind of bitey wheatiness out of this. I wouldn't be surprised with this beer as well. If you go to the back and the centre of your palate, it does feel quite crisp, so I wouldn't be too surprised if there's a little bit of some kind of Pilsner malt in here. And that is becoming a trend amongst the Scandinavian, pardon me, it's becoming a bit of a trend amongst the Scandinavian brewers these days to put a little bit of Pilsner malt in these big hazy beers just to give them that little bit of crispness. So I think there is a wee bit of that Pilsner malt there, because that crispness does evolve the further you go into the aftertaste. But yeah, I really like how this goes together. If you move into the centre of your palate, there is a nice little bit of that kind of biscuity sweetness to the beer, and you know that's to be expected, because you get you know, you will have I would suspect you've got a little bit of biscuit malt or something like that in here, and that will be covering up the boozy side of the beer, and it does get sweeter and sweeter the further you go into the aftertaste. But you can also feel some of the more crisp elements coming out of this from that Pilsner malt, some of the wheaty bitiness lingering there, and also some of the smoother oaty qualities coming in with this beer as well. But overall it is really very nice. And I like how this, I really like how this goes together actually. The malt base is really well balanced in this one. So in some ways, I say it's a bit more old school. It's got the old school wheaty bitiness from Amundsen, but it does have a little bit of the more kind of crisp quality that some of their more recent beers have had. So I think this is a good balance. If I was them, I would stick with this malt base going forward in their future beers. On the hoppy side of things then, if you go to the back corners of the palate, there's a teeny little bit of earthiness there, but that disappears very quickly. As you push further forward along the side of the palate, you get some nice floral aromaticity out of this beer. It does get a little touch spicy on the front corners of your tongue. I don't know if there are more hops in this one rather than just Citra, but the spiciness might suggest there is a wee bit, but then you have to remember that Citra is a sort of 11, 12, maybe even 13% alpha acid hop, so it does have a bit of kick to it itself. Round the front curve of the palate you get a little bit of lighter grassiness, and then behind the front curve of the tongue you get that little oily bubble that I always talk about, where the fruity, juicy esters begin to roll their way out of the beer. So yeah, if you go towards the back of the palate there, or the back, not the back of the palate, sorry, the back of that oily bubble, you do get a little bit of that stronger passion fruity note that Citra will give you, but then as you move further forward from that, it very quickly becomes a sort of softer, juicy, sort of mango-y quality, and then it becomes a wee bit more, becomes a little bit more sort of papaya-like. I'm not really getting the apricot notes in the flavour that I was picking up in the aroma, and then right on the edge of the tongue it's got a wee bit of a more, as you go further into the aftertaste you will get more of the kind of lychee, maybe not really lychee actually, there's a teeny bit of it, but it's more, the front edge of your tongue really has a little bit more of something stronger in it. It could be a little bit more of a sort of lemon limey type quality that's on the edge of the tongue. So that's really interesting, that the way that Citra is behaving in this beer compared to in the flavour, compared to how it behaves in the aroma, is quite different actually. On the edge of the tongue you do have this lemon limey quality that just interacts with the grassy notes, and I would say that the further you go into the aftertaste, the grassy notes on the front edge of your tongue do get a little bit more kind of they do get a little bit more prominent, to be honest with you. They do get a little bit more kind of dry and spicy, so that's another interesting feature of this beer, I think. This one's definitely one of the more bitter, hazy New England beers that I've come across. That said, I mean, compare it to the West Coast IPAs, it's not going to blow the head off you, but I think this one must have a little bit more bitterness to it than some of the other ones, right enough. But as it stands, it's a really nicely done beer, this one. It strikes me as a little bit less complex than some of the other kind of hazy New Englands that I've had recently, but sometimes that's the way to go. You know, if you can brew a beer, if you can do these more simple beers very well, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. So you know, bear that in mind when you try this. I think this is a really quite nicely done beer. It's not the most complex that I've come across from Amundsen, and I would doubt that it's the most complex one that you're going to come across from other half as well, but it is pretty damn solid and you can't knock it for that. So yeah, so mouthfeel then. For me, the mouthfeel of this beer, it's kind of at the top end of mid-bodied, I think. Yeah. Top end and mid-bodied. I don't think it's quite a full-bodied beer. Carbonation is quite smooth, but the beer does have a degree of crispness at the back of the palate, like I said. In terms of overall mouthfeel, I'd say that this one, it's quite a smooth beer, and it really does have a little bit of wetness to it. It doesn't feel quite as clean as you can get from some Nordic beers. I've always talked about the quality of the water you're going to get in Scandinavia, and this one, it does have a little bit of that cleanliness, and it makes it feel a little bit lighter than it is, but it's not as much as I've come across in other beers. But the mouthfeel overall, quite smooth, a little bit wet, and what else would I say? I'd say that it's it's mainly a smooth beer. There's not really oiliness to this one at all. In terms of the mouthfeel, I would say, in terms of mouthfeel, in terms of hoppy bitterness, Brain's not working with this video. In terms of hoppy bitterness, I think this beer's probably sitting around the 50 IBU mark. It's definitely got a bit more than 30 in it. Yeah, I think 50 IBUs in this. As I said, the middle of your palate, it has a lovely malty smoothness to it. It does get a little bit sweeter the further you go into the aftertaste as well, so you've got a good balance between smoothness and sweetness, and the malt base there does get gradually sweeter later on, and the fruity notes you get out of this are very kind of smooth and juicy, I have to say. So a really interesting beer, this one. A little bit different compared to some of the other Amundsen ones I've had. As I say, a little bit more old school. It reminds me of some of their older beers like the Space Tiger and the Apocalyptic Thunder Juice, which were a bit more wheaty and bitey compared to their more recent ones, which have been a bit lighter, smoother and more crisp. So quite nice to go back to something like that from Amundsen, and definitely cool to review something else involving Other Half as well. A very capable brewery in this style as well, from what from my previous experiences and from what I've been told. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the Brown Cheese and Waffles, a lovely 8.5% double IPA from Amundsen Bryggeri in Oslo in Norway, brewed in collaboration with Other Half Brewing from Brooklyn over New York in America. A Citra one, not the most complex beer I think you'll find from either of these breweries, but a really well done solid double IPA in my mind. So have a go at it when you get the chance. I think both breweries have done a good job of this one, and this beer is definitely worth checking out actually. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this review then. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are, both from Amundsen and from Other Half. No doubt we'll return to these breweries at some point soon. You probably will see Amundsen before you see Other Half, but like I said, in September I'm due to go over there, and I will try and make sure that I film an out and about video at the Other Half tap room. That's definitely on the cards for my time in New York. But thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, and I'll catch you guys very soon. The Brown Cheese and Waffles, an 8.5% double IPA from Amundsen Bryggeri in Oslo in Norway, and Other Half Brewing from Brooklyn, New York in America. Slàinte, skål, catch you soon.